Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we are standing on the unceded traditional territories of the Comox First Nation, and also that we will be having a public hearing at 6 p.m. So if this meeting is not completed by then, we will go into recess and come back. And first item is the adoption of the agenda.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, thank you. And we did have a delegation, but just are they online? Is that what you? Okay. Is that Lindsay McGinn and company on there?
Hi, I'm here. It's Lindsay from the Health Network.
Yeah, hi, Lindsay. Nice to see you. You have 10 minutes for your delegation and then probably some questions afterwards. So if you're all ready, please go ahead.
Great. And my apologies because we did, for some reason, think this started at 5:30, but I'm ready to go. So
Okay.
I'll do it on my own. And there might be a few others that join us as we go along. So thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Lindsay McGinn. I am the facilitator of the Community Health Network, but I'm here today on behalf of the Community Substance Use Strategy Committee. I just wanted to start our presentation by first thanking Councillor McGowan, who has been on our committee since the start, and also to Councillor Minions and Chief Executive Officer, or CAO, sorry, Jordan Wall, for their participation last May in our community engagement events. So we're here today for, there's actually two groups who are meant to be here presenting with me. First is, as I mentioned, the Community Substance Use Strategy. So we're a group that the Health Network has been convening with funds from our Health Network, as well as the City of Courtenay, to expand their existing drug strategy committee, which was in place for over 20 years through the City of Courtenay. And we've been working over the last year and a bit on the development of a substance use strategy. The funding that we had didn't really allow us to do all the work that was necessary in terms of developing a regional strategy, but we have started with our phase 1 report. This phase 1 report really looked at setting the foundation, making the connections in our community, and hearing from folks with lived and living experience of substance use to start the process of identifying areas where we need to work. The substance use strategy is focused on all substances. So that includes alcohol and tobacco, as well as cannabis and illicit drugs. So through this work in developing the strategy, we were very fortunate to be working with the Walk With Me project. And I'm sorry that they're not here to talk a bit about themselves, but they are a grassroots project in the community that's focused on cultural mapping of the toxic drug crisis. So they use a process of actually visually creating maps and collecting stories from folks with lived experience of some of their experiences going through recovery and accessing services, as well as some of the stigma and discrimination that they have received. So they, their voices are very well rooted in folks with lived experience. And here Sharon is just coming on and joining us. And I'll maybe come back to that. Hey, Sharon.
Hey.
Do you want to just pop in quickly? I'm so sorry about this bad timing, but I was just giving a quick overview on Walk With Me before I move into our phase 2 plans.
Sure. My apologies, I got the timing messed up. Yeah, the Walk With Me project is a community engaged research project designed to just uncover the human dimensions of the drug poisoning crisis. And so we've been working, the project stems from the Comox Valley Art Gallery, where it was originally hosted, and has since 2019 grown to encompass as well communities in Island Health. Been invited to take the project into hospitals throughout Island Health, as well as Campbell River, and are being invited into other communities as well. But essentially, the project is all about taking voices from the lived experience community around the impact of the drug poisoning crisis and bringing these voices to a wider audience in our community with intent to make change and spur policy change. So we've just produced a report that is speaking to the findings of the lived experience community as participating. So.
Thanks, Sharon. So our two groups, we have been in contact with each other throughout this process, but we finally found a good way to come together and work together. So moving forward, we will be working in partnership as we developed phase 2 of this strategy. And really speaking from the Substance Use Strategy Committee, our interest in partnering with Walk With Me is really the process that they have developed for having these important conversations and dialogues in community that's going to create the kind of change that we want to see. So, we're looking at transitioning our committee into more of a collaborative structure. We're in the process of developing a system of mapping the service delivery of substance use in the Comox Valley. We hope to move those into convening some real dialogue. So, initially our work has focused on peers as well as service providers, but really this next phase is about getting buy-ins from some of those larger systems like Island Health, School District, the RCMP, as well as local government. We will be looking to secure funding for this project, both from our partners in local government, but also we recognize the need to be broader than that and seeking funding for this work, but also really trying through this process to secure some commitment and shared accountability with these larger organizations and groups in the development of our phase 2 report, which then moves us into phase 3, where we take what we've learned in phase 2 and implement a model of collective action. And so starting to make that real change in our community that we all want in terms of reducing harms around substance use and creating a more healthy, vibrant community. So we are here today with some requests for support. One would be an invitation to Mayor and Council to participate in a walk that we have organized for local governments on Saturday, November 20th at noon. And we will follow up our presentation today with a formal invitation to all of you to do that. We would like to, secure some staff support. This would be a minimal engagement just in terms of liaising with our working group, but mostly just being willing to partner with us when these larger funding opportunities arise. We are asking all local governments for financial support for phase 2, as well as your continued commitment to providing municipal leadership and advocacy at other levels of government around policy change as it relates to substance use. And then finally, Comox is the only council who has already officially delegated an elected official to be at our committee, and we would just hope to see that continue as we move forward into this collaborative structure. So that's our presentation today, and happy to stick around if there's questions, and thanks again for this time and allowing us to be here.
Yeah, thank you, Lindsay. Does council have any questions? Councillor Minions and then McGowan.
Yeah, thanks, Lindsay. I keep hearing, as the crisis worsens month after month and year after year, that healthcare workers are feeling real pressure and getting really worn out. So it's good to see some collaboration across the different organizations happening. And the Walk With Me tour from previous years has been fantastic. I'm just wondering, from a funding approach, has a request been sent to the regional district as far as like a regional approach to the funding of this?
It has. We are presenting to their board next week, but just in advance of their strategic planning and financial planning that's already begun at the regional district, we have been in contact with both staff and elected officials at the regional district. So yes.
Thanks, Councillor McGowan.
On your back. No, make sure your power's on.
I got power.
Sorry, Lindsay, we're just having technical difficulties on this end. Stand by. What I-
Okay, I can speak now. Thank you so much for presenting. Some of the statistics about the Valley are very eye-opening and could be very shocking to some people. How can we support our community in education and to understand that these issues are not just on the streets, but in homes and workplaces as well?
Do you want me to go on that one, Sharon, or do you have, yep, okay. Yeah, I think, you know, we do, or certainly I do hear a lot about the toxic drug poisoning situation, which is an urgent crisis. And I think we hear less about the fact that it's actually legal substances that are sending more of our community members to hospital and costing our systems much more stress and than they can handle. So I think, you know, developing that education and having those conversations is what we will be looking to do in phase 2, because I think even within our own committee, as we went through this work, some of those statistics were not as readily available to folks, and they weren't as well informed. So there's certainly a lot of work to do there, both in the community and also within our school system. And Sharon, I don't know if you want to, oh, you good?
No, I can continue if you have anything.
Yeah, just let Sharon chime in.
I'm good, thank you.
Councillor Grant and then Swift.
Yeah, I was just wondering, on the financial support and staff time, could you send us just a basic idea of what we're looking at? Because we're heading into budget, and that's when we'll probably decide what we're going to do with money. And so if you have some idea what kind of costs and staff time you're looking at, it would help us out.
Great. Yep, I can definitely send that through. Thank you for that.
And Councillor Swift.
Thanks very much. I'm pleased to consider that you're considering a collaboration, because we've seen some successful collaborations over the years. I do like your title, Walk With Me. I think that's a great title. What I'm wondering about, I guess, kind of is along the same lines as Councillor Grant. I was wondering what the ballpark figure would be that you're looking for. And then secondly, have you approached our MLA and presented the information to her where they have perhaps some deeper and broader pockets to call from?
Yeah, thanks. So our broad a proposal for phase 2 is $100,000, and we have already secured half of that in advance of starting the work. So what we're left with is an additional $50,000 that we're looking for to fund phase 2. That is a great suggestion to reach out to. Actually, the Comox Valley has 2 MLAs, so to reach out to both of them, and we've started with local governments, but that's a great next step that you've identified. And I guess we're always looking to, you know, when we think about funding opportunities, you know, we would be hoping to see something come down from UBCM in the same way that they have provided funding for other social issues recently, like housing and poverty. So that's the type of funding where we'd be looking to make those local government connections so that we can be more successful when we do go to the provincial government to show that, you know, we're working collaboratively to try and address this issue and secure funding for our community. Similarly, as you mentioned, successful collaboratives like the Coalition to End Homelessness, and we've seen that having a good record in our community for securing those federal and provincial funds.
Great. Any other questions? I just want to say last winter, I did the Walk With Me and the headphones, and it was quite a moving experience walking through downtown, going down towards Sims Park and hearing the stories. And it was a really great setup. So kudos to you. And so on the November 20th, is that basically what that's going to be, a different type of Walk With Me, or what is the plan there?
Yes, so We actually have 5 audio tracks now that we've developed, some from here, some from Campbell River. So we're going to poll people on what they've heard already and give people the option to hear a new one. Certainly, we want to maintain focus on the Comox Valley and the walks where we can, but there are some really strong there's a really strong audio that's come forward from Campbell River as well that's really centered around intergenerational trauma in residential schools that is worth sitting with for anyone who might be interested as well. So I would say if you haven't been on a walk yet, we'll hook you up with one of the Comox Valley tracks. And if you have and want to hear one of the other tracks, that we would figure out a way to do that as well.
Yeah, I highly recommend it for everybody. It's a very moving experience. So thank you both for presentation, and seeing there's no other questions, we'll see you on the 20th at noon then.
Thanks so much.
All right, so moving on to adoption of the regular council meeting minutes from October 20th for approval.
Second.
Any questions on that? All in favor? Okay, thank you. We're going down now to the consent agenda. So motion.
Second.
All in favor of that? And anyone want to pick anything out? Councillor McGowan.
Thanks. Yeah, if we could pull out the heraldry letter, that'd be great. Number 2.
Second.
Oh, number 2. Right. Okay. Yeah. So go ahead.
It seems like a really kind of neat idea. Mr. Cowan sits on the CAMS board as well, and he's talked about it quite a bit for the last few years, not necessarily in relation to Comox, but just around the world and Canada. And it seems like a really kind of neat way to identify ourselves and set ourselves out a little bit. So I just wanted to throw that out there and say that I think it's a pretty neat idea for when that change happens.
Great. Thank you. Yeah. And I think CAO, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's really up to us or the community if we want to be defined as a city. I think that was the gist of this thing here from 15,000. But in fact, I went to Mr. Google today, and I think you could be a city with even less than that. So that it depends if we want to, rebrand ourselves or just acknowledge this. So yeah. So thank you. All right. Anything further on that? Okay. And do we have anyone else? So all in favor of that? Right. Thanks. And do we have anything else to pull out? Okay, thanks. Moving forward now to the strategic priorities and action items from November 3rd for receipt. Any questions, comments on that? All in favor? Okay, thank you. And the rezoning application RZ21-5. This is for the individual fitness training. So we have 2.
Second.
Okay, any questions on that? All in favor? Okay, number 2.
Second.
Any questions? Okay, so all in favor? Great, thank you. And then we have the Brooklyn Creek Watershed Society. And CAO, are you just looking for a motion for that we put that into the strategic priorities?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'll move that.
Second.
Okay, and any questions, Councillor Grant?
So I phoned these guys up last week and just wanted to get a little more info on what they're doing. And I suggested to them that perhaps if they were to contact Courtney and start from both end zones. So Courtney, it starts at Crown Isle, it goes through the park golf course, and the park is likely going to be up for development, or that's the hope of the owner anyway at some point. And so to get their foot in the water, to get that foot in the water, that was supposed to be fun.
I kind of.
But to get the trailway sort of marked in so that if it ever does get developed, they've got that part. And then for us to start from the other end, and they thought that was a good idea. So they've been in touch with Doug Gillian, and he's got a meeting set up with Courtney. So I'll leave it at that for now because we're going to discuss it more. But anyway, that's what I've done with it. So just so you know.
Right. And so I don't think, did we have a motion and a seconder on that? Okay. Yeah. Any other questions on that? All in favor? So that'll be moved to our strategic priorities. Under new business, we have the council appointments. So this is council appointments, acting mayor roster, signing authorities, and meeting schedule.
Second.
Okay, so questions, comments? Councilor McGowan. And I did, sorry to interrupt, I did print some of these, and Shelley printed some out as well with the changes that were made in the last couple of days. So I don't know if you have a copy
I
there.
do not. I have
Maybe-
not seen
maybe
that
you
yet.
could, Shelley, or
Thank you.
Stephanie one. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so sorry about that, Councilor McGowan, go ahead.
That's okay. So I want us to start out by expressing how much I appreciate all the hard work, time, and effort that both Councillors Grant and Swift have put into the CDRD over many years, and that they've represented Comox as directors and done a wonderful job. I'm grateful for your representation and dedication. But there are about a couple of points that I'd like to make about how I think right now would be a good time to make some switch. So this is the final year of our term, and most projects are being worked on. The priorities are set, projects are on the move. Just like in Comox, there's not going to be too many huge shifts in process until later, most likely. And the onboarding process will educate in other ways. So it's an ideal time to catch up on things and ensure that we have the education to thrive. The first year, we all agreed that you guys would continue your director positions, which was understandable because we had a lot to learn at that time. And it was probably very similar the year after. Last year, we didn't change because COVID was prevalent and it didn't seem like a good time. But this is the last chance that we have to live up to what we had said previously and provide the opportunity for a new councillor, not necessarily me, but somebody else to represent the diversity of the community of Comox. And thirdly, I think that it would be prudent to have somebody else informed and educated on the CBRD board workings and business, as there is an election next year. And knock on wood, should either of you guys not get elected, we will need people who also have some experience. And it's less likely that all three of us or three people would not get elected, as opposed to like at least one person will be getting back in, right? So it's a prudent thing that I think we should, switch up at least one. I'm not partial to like who takes over, but I think this is the time for it to be done.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, Councillor Swift, did you have your hand? Yeah, okay.
Thanks.
And then Minions, and then Grants, I think saw a hand there. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, all right.
See if there's any new stuff that comes. Well, I think that we can all agree when you first come to the table, it's been described as drinking from a fire hose. And I think that would be the same effect if a new person goes to the RD at this point. So there's a lot to learn with meetings and so on, and just the procedures and the culture at the regional district. Also, at the beginning of the term, when you have new people there, we went through days and days of orientation, farm tours and facility tours and sewer tours and water tours and garbage tours and all of that. And so that we could bring rounded knowledge to the table. And if you didn't experience those things, then you don't have the benefit of that. And it's kind of saying they weren't of that much value. It's a huge time commitment. Sometimes we begin at 12:30 in the afternoon and we're not done till 9 o'clock. So that's another thing to consider. I hope that as a council, we can appreciate the value of the continuity. I know that Councillor Grant, I believe, has done an amazing job with the service review of 550, and it wouldn't be a good time to change. The process isn't over yet, and we haven't been at the table, so we don't have all the information that has led to this point. And I think he's done a really good job for our community. I've served on the liquid waste management plan for the last 4 years, and it was supposed to be 4 to 5 meetings We're now on meeting 12, but I can actually see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I would like to be there to complete that process. I'm also the vice chair of the Sports Commission and the Sewer Commission, and I'm the 911 rep for the CDRD. So I believe I've worked hard. I've been conscientious about attending all the orientations, professional development, C2C forums, the strategic priority sessions, which will go on for 2 days in a row, and the board meetings. If I do not have the confidence of council behind me, I should be replaced. But I see the real value in the knowledge that I have gained, and I believe that CDRD appointments should stay the same for the remainder of the term so that we can see some of our work come to fruition.
Okay, thank you. And Councilor Minions.
I'll try to keep this short because it would be reiterating some of the points. I think the challenging thing is, you know, I looked back at our meetings in 2019 and 2020, and if from the beginning we had known that it was a 4-year appointment and that was how it would be easier then to look at the regional district positions as that way, as a term position for the 4 years. I'm not willing to let this go in limbo now for 2 months and not appoint the regional district, but looking back, it was that in 2019, we would look at it in 2020. In 2020, we said we would look at it in 2021. And looking back at the video, it was that we all agreed that we would look at changing the appointment at that time, possibly 1 or possibly 2. So I would say, you know, when we have incumbents for 4 years hold the, you know, signing authority doesn't really matter, but we've had the incumbents hold the signing authority. We've had the incumbents hold the regional district positions. It just feels like a little bit of a stronghold. So I would have liked to see a change, but at this point and with what it would hold up, I won't vote against it.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Grant.
Yeah, I've tried to get off the signing position for 4 years, so if you like it, it's all yours. I signed the checks for probably about 8 years, and I don't know how they do it now, but you used to get a stack about this big, and it was, yeah. So anyway, I'm good with that, but you know, I think that when you look at the RD appointments, I watched as Courtney did some changes, and honestly, the people that ended up going there were really lost for a long time. It's a completely different way of doing things, and it takes a lot of getting used to. We've got $142 million worth of projects still that are either just beginning or in the works. And, you know, the sewer one is a really good example of something that, you know, that $73 million and a lot of plans that are still in camera. And, you know, that number, in my opinion, is probably going to rise from there. We have 21 budgets coming up. We have just fire halls and a whole litany of things that are going on. And, you know, I think that having the knowledge and the understanding of how it works is important. And I also think that when you get to the beginning of the term where there's new people from different communities coming and they do the orientation, that's a really valuable exercise for the new people that come. And staff is also geared towards that. Right now, staff isn't geared towards that. They're geared towards getting these projects and things done. And they're not going to slow down to teach somebody how to do it in midstream. They're going to continue to push to get those done. So I think the continuity is actually pretty important. So, you know, I guess that's my take on it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anything further? So we do have the recommendations that are in front of us. So if someone wants to make a motion to make a change, or we just continue with the recommendation, number 1 was moved, where second we're talking about it. So we do have them table 1, and then I think we're pretty much talking about table 2 right now. And this is the Comox Valley Regional District Board. This includes the Water Commission and the Recreation Commission. So we have Councillor Grant and Swift on that. We have alternate Councillor Bissinger, Minions, and the others, because last year I believe we included all the other councillors as alternates. So that's what we have right now. Unless there's a motion otherwise, we'll we'll vote on this. But if you'd like to make the motion, Councillor McGowan, please.
Okay, let's make the motion then to switch up CVRD representatives and see how it goes.
Okay, so, sorry, yeah. So right now we're looking at number 1 on page 3, the regional district board includes water and recreation. So we have Councillor Grant and Swift, and again, we have the alternate. So you want to change one or both of those?
I'm happy to let people like finish their projects if they're, the waste management board and things like that. I just, feel like there's an overwhelming representation there of incumbents, and with the last year, we need to throw some other things in there. And we should be able to divide them up pretty well and
Yeah. And if I may
have
add,
conversations about things, right?
yes. And so if you see on there, so maybe we'll just take a step back. We have you, Councillor McGowan, just as the example, we have you and the new councillor who will come on is going to be on the Regional Hospital District Board. We have you and let's see, you, Councillor Grant and Swift are the 3 permanent on the Sewage Commission. Alternates being Bissinger, Minions, and the new councillor. So we have switched it up. We have added on, and if that suffices, or we can continue in looking at this. But I see Councillor Bissinger's hand up.
Sure, thank you. And I can appreciate Councillor Swift's desire to see projects through, because I kind of feel the same way with the Regional Solid Waste Board. But understanding I'm the alternate for it, which means I usually go to those meetings. I'm happy to step down from that one, Councillor McGowan, if you would also like the Solid Waste Board, and I'd be happy to take another one of your appointments, committees or whatnot. So I'll leave that up to you. Meetings are usually on Thursdays, 9:30 in the morning till noon.
I can do that. I don't like I said, I don't want to take away anybody's projects or babies or anything like that.
So
yeah.
So how do you feel if we were to leave the 2 main regional district councillors, directors as they are?
Yeah,
Grant to Swift, and I just want to just have a fulsome discussion. On
oh yeah,
this.
no, I
And-
don't think that
yeah.
they've done anything wrong. They
No,
still
and that's not about
totally
this.
have
This
my
is-
support.
Yeah,
Like,
this is about spreading it over
Yeah.
and making, I think a lot of us hope we're going to be here the next term, and this gives you some experience down the road, and that's why we got on here with you on the sewage, with you on the hospital board, and now perhaps the solid waste. Gives you a really good leeway into what could possibly happen next term. So
yeah, it is what it is. That's all good then.
okay, Councillor Grant.
So I thought that this was actually a pretty good compromise and get your feet wet on it, but I think that we had a motion on the floor already for number 1.
Yeah, for number 1.
So, and then we went back and we're going to change it, but I think we already had a motion on the floor. So just technically, I think we need to vote on the 1 motion and then see where it goes.
Right, and the 1 motion is that we approve the appointments to community organizations, which we haven't really, that's table 1. Yeah, and what we were talking about is table 2. We just kind of digressed there. So okay, so table 1. So we'll go back to that. These are the community organizations. So for example, CAMS, Councillor McGowan, BIA, myself, Community Justice. I'm not sure if Councillor Minions or Councillor Bissinger, how they feel about that, because, kind of up in the air maybe with with what, you've given up now, maybe you want that one back. I'm not sure, but that'll be a discussion. But anyways, there we are with table 1. So the motion is for that. Do we want to make any amendments to that to see if we want to change any of those of table 1? Councillor Bissinger.
I guess my only concern would be if I were to step down from the solid waste board, for example, then my only appointment would be 2 nautical days, which I'm more than happy to do, but I also
Right.
feel like I'm not taking a fair share.
Yeah, and it's a couple.
of the pie, and I'm happy to attend more meetings as required, and I could do the cams if that would.
Oh, no, I've got things that I want to finish up there too.
So
It's all good. I'm just, yeah.
So how do Councillor Minions, how do you feel about letting Councillor Bissinger continue on with the community justice in lieu of her giving up the solid waste?
That will only also leave me with 1 to 2 appointments at that point. So we added that one in
Right.
because I was also low.
Right.
So
Okay.
it would leave me in the
We'll
same
we'll
boat.
leave it as
Yeah.
is here. I mean, you two, Councillor Bissinger would be an alternate to you, so you can share it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I stepped off a couple for the regional
Yeah.
district stuff to share
Okay.
that. So I didn't end up with too much.
Right.
I'd prefer to keep community justice.
Okay. So then it seems that what we have there is table 1 pretty much reflects the wishes of council. So all in favor with table 1 approving? Okay, no opposed. Great, thank you. So now the number 2.
Move to.
Second.
Okay, for discussion again. We've had a pretty good fulsome discussion. I think there is a change needed on the printed part, which would be 2B. It's reflected in table 2 because I changed it. But what it is that the Comox Strathcona Regional Waste Management is one committee and the Regional Hospital Districts is another committee. And so we did that to be mindful of trying to get the RD experiences to other people as well. So you'll see that, again, we have Councillor Granton Swift as the main regional district appointees. The alternates, pretty much everybody. We want everybody to have a chance to go there in case there's a need. And I know Councillor Grant did say at one point that perhaps, you miss a meeting here and there, and it would give one of the other alternates a chance to see what's going on.
And we picked the ones that go from 10 o'clock till 9 at night to skip.
Yeah, you can give those ones up. Yeah. And yeah, so then I guess the big add-on would be for Councillor McGowan being on the CBRD Sewage Commission. And that is one that you would be on all the time, not just technically you're the alternate, but you go to those ones. No, you're not.
No, you're not.
You are the
Yeah,
one where you do that one, yeah. So that's the only change there. The Regional Hospital District, that is the one where the alternates would attend all the time. So Councillor McGowan for yourself and the new councillor, you would be doing those. And the Regional Solid Waste Board, that is the one that Councillor Bissinger just gave up to Councillor McGowan. Is that
Offered to,
offered?
but
Offered
it's,
to.
yeah,
Okay.
it's okay, right?
So we'll leave it status quo there? Yeah. All right. So then, all right. So any other further discussion on that before we take the vote? All in favor? Great. Thank you very much. And I do appreciate everybody being flexible. I know there was a lot of work gone into this, and it's good to see everybody trying to work together to get the experiences out there. All right. I made a promise to myself I wasn't going to ramble on. That one got a little long-winded, but I think we had to peel that one back. So we're going to move on now
To Regional Library number 3.
Yes.
I'll move that we send whoever the poor new guy is to the Vancouver Island
Right.
Regional
Yeah.
Library.
Yeah. And yeah.
Or lady. Or woman.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have a mover seconder for that one, but we did have that in the list as well. We had the new counselor down for that one.
Okay,
Yeah. So any other questions on that? All in favor? Okay,
so do you want to do the acting mayor roster now? Is that where
sure.
we're at? Okay, I'll move that.
Okay. Any questions on that? That's pretty routine. Councillor Minions? Oh, okay, yeah.
No, my only question on this is, I'm not sure where we are in the rotation, because if you get a new guy and all of a sudden, you know, the mayor's not here and you got a
Yeah.
brand new guy as the mayor on the first month, that might not be a good,
I thought I saw that.
but I'm not
somewhere.
sure.
March and September is the
Okay,
new
that's okay.
new
Fair
person.
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so all in favor for that? The roster?
I
Okay.
only say that because that happened to me when I first got on, and I didn't know what that was.
And number 6, assigning authority for myself, Councillor Grant, and Maureen Swift, Councillor Swift.
And that, unless anybody else would want to, although Maureen, I haven't had a call in 4 years to come and do it, I don't think. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it's still a stack this thing.
and I've only signed, I think once I've gone in to sign, so anyway, all in favor of that? It's number 6. Okay,
And just out of curiosity,
yeah, and we got to backtrack to number 5 too. so
Okay.
go ahead.
sorry, I'm just wondering if there's any chance that this will get to be an electronic system at some point where you don't have to come in and sign all these checks. I know we've talked about that for years, but it's never occurred, so
Okay.
I guess that's for Jordan.
Yeah, we'll be moving to that system as well. The current purchasing system that we have, where we have councillors signing off on every checks, is not very usual amongst municipalities anymore. Generally, what will happen is that there's a floor amount. You know, the councillor is required to sign a check if it's over $60,000 or $80,000. For a municipality our size, you probably get into councillors signing checks for things that are over 100 or 120,000.
Okay.
So when we do develop an updated purchasing policy, that kind of change would come to council. Ultimately, it's up to you guys what controls you want to have in the system, but those would be recommended changes coming from staff.
Perfect.
Okay, thanks. So yeah, just backtracking a little bit, and that Myers Norris Penny be appointed as the
Move.
auditor. Any questions? All in favor? Okay, and number 7, that the 2022 regular council and strategic planning committee meeting schedule be outlined as it says
Move.
later on. Questions? All in favor? Okay, thank you. So we will go to council remuneration. We have 15 minutes. If council would like to take recess now, get settled for the public hearing. So if we have a motion to recess, and we can discuss number letter, was it 10B after that? So
Moved.
Second.
all right, all in favor?